I recently started using Anchor to produce the Johnson City Living podcast, and I love it. If you haven't heard about Anchor, it's the easiest way to make a podcast. Here's what I mean. Number one, it's free. Number two, there's creation tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or computer. Anchor will distribute your podcast for you so it can be heard on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, anywhere you can listen to a podcast. You can even make money from your podcast with no minimum listenership. It's everything you need to make a podcast in one place. So download the free Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started. Hey friends, and welcome to the Johnson City Living podcast, where we talk about the people, places, events, and flavors that make Johnson City, Tennessee a lovely place to live. Hey, will you do me a favor? If you're enjoying the podcast, will you tell one person about it today? That's exactly how we grow a podcast, one new listener at a time. So thank you in advance for doing that. Today's guest on the Johnson City Living podcast is Kat Latham. In 2014, Kat and her husband Eric opened Johnson City Brewing Company in downtown Johnson City. At the time, they were the only brewery in Johnson City, and of course, in the years since, brewing in downtown has flourished, as others have followed the path that Kat and Eric paved. Also, there's something really important I need to tell you about today's show. I ended up cutting about a third of the episode after we finished our interview. I hated to lose that part, but it speaks a lot to who Kat is. But Kat asked me to cut it, and it was the right thing to do, which also speaks a lot to who Kat is. The part I had to cut was about a career change that Kat made about a year ago. When Kat was growing up, her dad was a firefighter at Dulles Airport in Virginia. Because of his schedule, he was very involved in Kat's childhood. So he was the guy who came on the field trips, was around to help with homework, the guy who pitched in with after-school activities. And Kat grew up seeing that you can be a good citizen, a good provider, and a good parent at the same time. Sadly, Kat's dad passed away about a year and a half ago, but she described how even though he wasn't a Johnson City firefighter, the Johnson City Fire Department sent 4 members of their honor guard to stand watch over her father at his funeral service, and the Dulles Fire Department sent 2 members of their honor guard all the way down here to Johnson City to do the same. Kat was moved by what she calls this special fraternity of firefighters and how no matter what, they show up for people in need. And she began to toss around the idea of becoming a firefighter herself. Flash forward to today, and Kat has followed in her father's footsteps and is a firefighter. Kat works for the Johnson City Fire Department. She says her job with the fire department gives her all the opportunities she saw with her father. She can help support her family, give back to her community, and also be around for her kids' activities. Now, because of the fire departments and the way that they most often see people in times of their deepest need, they have a policy that communication about that work, it needs to go through the chain of command. And like a good employee, Kat didn't want to do anything to break the fire department's chain of command. That's why I cut our entire conversation about Kat's experience becoming a firefighter. You'll have to take my word for it. It's a really good story. Okay, that's enough of me talking. I want you to get to know Kat Latham, so here's today's interview. Kat Latham, welcome to the Johnson City Living podcast.
Thank you. I'm happy to be here.
Tell us what you do in downtown Johnson City.
Well, I live and work in downtown Johnson City. We live on the Tree Streets behind the school, Southside Elementary, which we love that neighborhood. We think it's a fabulous place to live, and there's good people in it, and the school is outstanding for our girls that go there. And then downtown, we own Johnson City Brewing Company, my husband Eric and I. And we've been here for 5 years, going on 6 now, with that particular business. And it has been such a blessing in our lives. It's something that has given us great purpose and opened us up to all kinds of amazing relationships and opportunities. And we're just so excited to see where it continues to go and take us with it.
Yeah. Tell me about your origin of your involvement with brewing beer.
Brewing beer. So I am not the brewer, sadly. You'll have to get Eric in here to be that person.
Yeah.
He was a home brewer for a really long time.
Yeah.
And I fell in love with a guy who likes beer, surprisingly enough.
Right.
And a long time ago, we got together up in Northern Virginia, and because we didn't really know anybody in the area, well, he didn't know anybody in the area, we started hosting beer nights at our house.
Yeah.
Kind of beer lux, I guess is what people call it around here. We started calling it a beer club, and people would come and bring beer from all over the country, sometimes all over the world. We had a lot of people that we knew that traveled a great deal and would bring stuff back that you couldn't really find anywhere else.
Oh, cool.
And so we'd have these like potluck beer evenings at our house, and got to know a lot of amazing people that way, just random strangers. We would see them out at a movie or something and ask them, oh, look, you're drinking an interesting beer. If you like beer, you should come to our house.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
And I can tell you the people that actually show up when you do something like that are perfect strangers end up being some pretty cool people to know.
Absolutely. Yeah, I would think so.
And that whole group actually is what helped us take the next step. When we moved to Johnson City, I knew no one. Eric knew his family here, but had been gone for a long time. So we really didn't have a lot of connections. And when we had the opportunity to open this brewing company, we relied on our friends and family. And a lot of them were in this club that we had.
Yeah.
And those were the initial investors in our company.
Oh, wow.
It was little tiny investors for most of them, little $500 here, $1,000 there. But that money that we raised by sending out a text message. I essentially group sourced our funding, sent out a text message to all of our friends and just said, this is what we're looking at doing. This is the amount of money that we need to make it happen. If we reach that number, I guess we're in business.
Yeah.
And about 45 minutes later, I looked at Eric and I said, I guess we're in business, honey. And it went from there.
Oh, my gosh.
And so Eric has worked his butt off.
Yeah.
Holy cow. That man works 15 hours a day most of the time, 7 days a week, like just works and works and works. It's gotten better since we were able to upgrade our equipment. We used to be a 1-barrel system. So barrelage wise, you're looking at 4 quarter kegs, so 4 kind of pony kegs, right? Or 6 of the pony kegs, 4 of the quarters. So it's not very much beer.
Yeah.
You're making it one at a time, right? And so that went on for almost 3.5 years, and then we were able to upgrade to a little bit more of a professional system.
Yeah.
And that has allowed Eric to have a little more freedom. But again, it's one of those, like, you increase your quantity, you increase your time, like everything just goes up and up on its own. But it's really been awesome to watch him. He's a self-taught brewer.
Yeah.
He's done everything just from, getting advice from others, watching YouTube, doing a lot of reading and research on his own. And that's how he's kind of come to develop this flavor that we have at the brewing company that no one else really has in the area. And I believe it's because it's his own original stuff.
Yeah.
This is a guy that hasn't taken, he hasn't been brewing to compare to others. It's he's going, I think that sounds good. Let's give it a shot.
Yeah.
And his innovation and thoughts on where the company should go and how it should continue to perform is really where we've gotten to today. And we have so many amazing customers and supporters. Small business, as I know that you're aware, can go out of business very quickly. Yeah. And we were super stoked when we reached that 5-year benchmark.
Yeah.
Because a lot of places go out in the first year, the first 3 years, and when you hit the 5, it's like, okay, I think we're doing all right now.
Yeah.
And that was all because of the support we got from this awesome community that we live in. People really, looked at us and said, you've created a space where I feel at home in. And we actually have a lot of transplants here in Johnson City. And being a transplant and having that connection to those folks that just hadn't been able to quite find their niche yet, being able to provide that space where they could come in and, yes, let's talk about Johnson City and the Tri-Cities and Northeast Tennessee and how different it is from everything else and how great it is. And then some of the things that make it not so great, but what can we do to continue to make it better? Those conversations have happened a lot in our tap room, and I'm really proud of the things that have come out of it. We enjoy doing a lot of community service work out of there. We do some fundraisers, call them pint nights. Yeah. And those opportunities to kind of display a nonprofit or an organization that's trying to do some good in our area is something we really, really cherish.
Yeah. Tell me about some of the milestones through the first 5 years and how you some of those moments where, okay, we've made it this far. Here's what we need to do next. What have been some of those milestones?
Well, it was really those equipment milestones. That's really what it comes down to, and figuring out how we're distributing. So in the first year, it was just let's get it open.
Yeah.
Let's make sure we have good beer, and let's hope people come back.
Yeah.
That was the first year, and really kind of getting our footing and figuring out how we fit into Johnson City and specifically the downtown. That was really the first year, was just sort of figuring it all out. The second year was, okay, we're here. We did it.
These people keep coming back.
Okay, what's the next step? And for us, it truly was looking at, we needed a bigger space. The space that we were in was a really tiny closet in the back of the King building, back a little corner area, which was lovely to start out in.
Yeah.
It became really small, really, really fast. And a lot of people would call me while I'm bartending there, and we get the call, and they're like, I've circled the block 4 times and I don't know where you're at.
Yeah,
I said, just park and come in the building.
Right.
We will flag you down.
Right.
But the fact that somebody had to go on a treasure hunt to find us was not ideal.
Yeah.
And we, looked and looked, trying to find buildings that would fit for us and that were in our budget, and that, gave that feeling that we were looking for, because a lot of people did tell us that our space was like a living room. They loved to come in and feel cozy and like it was a place they could just relax and be in. So we still wanted to keep that feel.
Yep.
And unfortunately, in the downtown area, there's a lot of blighted buildings, ones that are owned by irresponsible people who don't have any investment in the community. Many of them are out of town owners. So they're not the ones walking by these buildings day in and day out with the boards up over stuff and derelict, windows and things like that. So it would be lovely if we could see some change in that direction, as far as managing these buildings and the people that own them to really take responsibility for them, because there's a number of buildings that we'd have loved to have been in, but we honestly just, number one, couldn't afford it because they were priced so high.
Yeah. And
then even if we could afford the pricing, fixing it up to the level that we need to have it be an assembly place where people could come in and enjoy a beverage was just not possible. We were real fortunate to find right across the street from us an area that turned out to be affordable, and it actually had 30 extra seats than what we had in our original tap room.
Yeah.
And we made that step. That was a big milestone to cross the street and get into our new tap room. Have big, lovely windows, that are right on Main Street and right on Roans. We've got this great corner spot. But immediately when we moved over, the very first complaint I got was, well, it's just too small.
Really?
And I was like, it has 30 extra seats.
You saw the other place, right?
Yeah. And
Wow.
So that was a little frustrating to hear right off the bat, but I get it. People wanted to be able to come in and sit down and enjoy themselves. And that has consistently been our biggest complaint. We just don't have a lot of space. And so we're always keeping an eye out, if anybody has any suggestions out there, we're always keeping an eye out for a space that can accommodate a little bit more and do a little bit more for us.
So it seems to me like there's a fine line between having the space that people are asking for and demanding, and maintaining your feel.
Right.
Like the feel that I've always had in your space is, it's a very specific feel. It's cozy, it's intimate, it's unpretentious. How closely do you feel that reflects you and Eric, or is that something you designed on purpose, or is it just kind of an overflow of how the two of you are?
I think it's a direct reflection of Eric and I. Those are things that we prize greatly: coziness, comfortable, and unpretentious. That's a great word, actually, and we're not fancy people, and we like for someone to come in and be like, oh, yeah, this is good.
Yep.
I can be here, and I don't need to worry about impressing anybody or what someone might say or do. This is a place that you can come, you can relax, you can just be here and be yourself. And Eric and I, when we first started all of this, that was something that was so important to us, that everyone is welcome.
Yeah.
And even if you've got very different political beliefs, values, all those things, we've always been able to see them blend in that space.
Yeah.
And people be respectful of each other's differences.
Yeah.
And there's been some really awesome conversations where you go, have you thought about it in this way? And people go, actually, I haven't. And so watching those sort of evolutions happen and people really embracing the idea of, I mean, you've been in our space. It's kind of hard to just be by yourself.
Yeah, yeah.
It's a place where somebody's going to come up and be like, hey,
yeah,
my name is Kat.
Yeah.
What are you doing here?
Yeah.
And have those conversations, or somebody overhears something and goes, oh my gosh, I've totally been there too. It was great, and it's just because our space is pretty small. And frankly, those are the kind of people that come in. They just want to connect with others and be a part of that space.
It feels like, to me, it's a place where people easily feel, number one, at home, but also kind of a sense of ownership. Like this is my place, this is our place. And it seems to me like when you have that feeling, those conversations are easier to have. Like there's plenty of places where, well, the number of places anymore where you can have a civil conversation with somebody, even somebody you don't agree with, or especially with somebody you don't agree with or see things differently from, that list of places getting fewer and fewer. And I think the vibe that y'all set up in there, whether intentionally or not, is it's working.
And I think, something that was really important to us was family.
Mm-hmm.
We have two small children. They're now 6 and 8, amazingly enough. It happened so fast. But, when we first opened this, they were toddlers. Yeah. Infants and toddlers is when we opened this space. And from the beginning, we said, our business is a family business. Mm-hmm. If you're not interested in being a part of that family, this isn't the place for you. Yeah. And we've had some people that said, this isn't the place for me. Mm-hmm. I want something that's a little less intensely personal, and I get that. But I think for a lot of folks, they know that bring your kids, bring your grandma. This is, my husband and I love Ireland. It's where we went to on our honeymoon, and we both have Irish in our background. And that feeling of having that family Irish pub kind of place. Yeah. Come play board games, come have snacks. We try and keep juice and chocolate milk and all that stuff in. And we want kiddos to be there and kind of running around and having a good time and enjoying each other. And, this being the Bible Belt as it is, when we first opened, we got a lot of criticism for being just another beer joint. Okay. And that was a little hurtful at first, but I understand where people are coming from. There is some stigma attached to it, and there are folks that go overboard. For us, it's really important that we made it real clear this isn't that kind of place. Yeah. If you want to do that, that's your decision to do, but you probably need to go someplace else. Right. We're the place that you want to come and have a quality beverage, couple of quality beverages, be with your family, be with your spouse, be with your partner, enjoy your time with us. And overindulgence is not something that we get excited about. Yeah. And I think we've brought some people around to understand that an adult human being is actually capable of having an alcoholic beverage without overindulging. Yes. And without getting to the point of sloppy and rude. They can come, they can be with their kids, they can have a couple of beers, and they're in great shape and they're enjoying the time together. Yeah. Trying to take away that demonization of alcohol was a part of our process too, of just saying, look, responsible human beings are capable of doing many things, and let's just let them be. Yeah. And if you choose to operate in a different way, if you're looking for something different, there's plenty of places within a block's walk that you can take care of that. Also, I imagine that what you offer helps with that too. I mean, some of your drinks are as much like having a meal or a dessert as anything else. It's kind of a sit and savor kind of experience, I would imagine. It truly is. And, that again comes back to Eric. He's just such a great brewer, and he comes up with some awesome flavors and varieties of beer. And, we've got some things that we thought would just be one-offs. We were like, oh, this sounds fun. Let's put that out there. Our Kick of Coriander, which is an amber ale that we make, when we first made it, it was an accident.
Really?
This was when the kids were tiny, little babies. And I got a call at 11 o'clock at night from Eric, who was, at that time, he still was doing a full-time day job and then brewing at night to prepare us to open the brewery.
Yeah.
And he called me and said, oh my gosh, I forgot to get the coriander for this beer. Can you please go to the grocery store and get some and bring it in? And I was like, it's 11 o'clock at night and the kids are sleeping.
Yeah.
And he was like, I can't leave because I'm in the middle of brewing. And I said, okay. So I packed the kids up. We went out to the grocery store, got what we needed, came back. And it turned out that I got the wrong variation of what he needed, but we were like in it, and I was like, I'm not going back to the grocery store, so figure it out.
Right.
So he did all these calculations and tried to figure out how much you needed to put in of this coriander and this and that and the other. And he went to put it in and the whole thing fell in. So, after 20 minutes of trying to figure out how much he was going to put in, it just went bloop.
Oh.
And so, at that point you're 9 hours in or so, and you just start stirring.
We'll see what happens.
Yep. And it turned out to be one of our most popular beers that we had on tap. We call it our happy little accident, right?
Yeah.
So our happy little accident we had. And fast forward 3 years, almost 4 years later, and we said, let's throw some peaches on this just to see how it tastes. I think it would be fun. It was summer, we'll just throw some peaches on. So we did.
Yeah.
And we called it Peaches because it was a beer with peaches on it. Little did we know it would become our number one seller and would be with us forever after that.
Wow.
With the boring name of Peaches. I was like, we probably should have thought about that name a little bit more before we released it, but we had no idea. Like, you just don't know what's going to take off. And but yeah, so Peaches has taken over as the number one beer that we sell. It is in many restaurants and bars in the area, along with a number of other of our brews. But that was one of the ones that we went, we probably could have looked at that a little harder if we'd known it was going to stick around so long.
And now there's no way you can rebrand that.
No, it's Peaches.
Right.
Everybody knows it as Peaches. And
right.
we tried to do Peaches on Kick for a while.
Yeah.
And then Peaches and Kick, and then Kick and no, and then everyone just kept saying, "Can we get another one of Peaches?" And we were like, "Okay, okay, it's Peaches. It is."
So y'all are known for some of your classics. So J-Town English Brown, mm-hmm. Apollo 13, mm-hmm. Little Chicago Stout, mm-hmm. but then also known for your creativity,
wild and crazy.
Yeah. Tell me about.
Let's get weird.
So one time I sampled a beet beer.
Yeah, that was the root vegetable variety that we were doing.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Eric did 4 of those, I think.
Really interesting and really tasty. Mm-hmm. You currently, if I'm right, have a Girl Scout cookie selection.
Oh, we did. They're all gone.
Oh, no.
They were gone over the weekend, but I would love to tell you about them because we do it every year.
Yeah.
Our daughters are Girl Scouts.
Yeah.
And we were approached by the local council to be a part of their gala that they have every year. And I guess over in the Knoxville area, they had already done pairings where they would, a local brewery would take one of their beers and pair it with the cookie, and they'd have this lovely event.
Yeah.
So we said to them, we want to take it up a notch. We want to make a beer that is the cookie.
Yeah.
And that will go with the cookie.
Yeah.
And they went, okay. And so the first year we did it, we did thin mint beer. It was a chocolate mint.
Right.
Chocolate mint stout. We did the tag-along one, which is the chocolate peanut butter brown.
Oh, my gosh.
We did the lemon, and that was the lemon blonde. And what was the last one? Oh, the Toffee-tastic. So the gluten-free cookie that they have. So we did a gluten-free toffee beer. And that was nuts. Just all the varieties that we did for that particular one. Eric worked his butt off, and they came out so delicious.
Oh, man.
And so we went to the gala, we presented the beers there, and then the following weekend we brought it back to our tap room. And we're thinking this should probably go pretty well,
Yeah.
And we decided, well, what we're going to do, we'll serve it as a flight. So you get the 4 beers on the flight, and then we'll give the corresponding cookie to the folks so they can have, when they drink the chocolate mint stout, they'll have the thin mint cookie with it, and so on and so forth. It was so huge. We couldn't keep up. And we were like, wow, this turned into a pretty good thing. And we've done it ever since. We've changed it up. The chocolate mint beer, as interesting as that sounds, it's a niche beer, really. There's certain people that thought it was amazing, and then other people were like, I feel like I'm brushing my teeth with beer.
Oh, gosh.
Valid point.
Yeah.
It was a valid point. So we, in future works with the Girl Scouts, we did, in fact, dump the Thin Mint off the list. And I think, what did we end up replacing it with was, the Samoa. So it was a caramel toasted coconut chocolate brown.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. It was so good. So we pretty much have stuck to those. And we just wrapped it up this past weekend, and it was a solid hit again, which we're really grateful to the community again for coming out and supporting us. And my kiddos got to sell cookies at the tap room.
I would think that'd be a huge opportunity for the girls selling cookies during that.
It was super fun. They love it.
What are some of your other favorite specials that y'all have cooked up over the years?
Oh, gosh. Well, our raspberry mocha stout beer, that was, again, one that came up our first year we were open, and we were trying to think up a seasonal kind of wintry beer that would be something that people would enjoy.
Yep.
That one put us on the map. That was one of those ones that people were like, you're the raspberry mocha people.
Okay, yeah.
And we said, yes, we are.
Yeah,
Come
nice.
on by. Yeah. So that was a big one for us. Gosh, let's see. It's usually those ones, pumpkin pie beer. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
So it's it's all the spices that go into a pumpkin pie plus pumpkin. And then we, when we serve it at the tap room, it comes with a caramel rim that has a crumb topping around it. And I swear to God, it's like eating a piece of pumpkin pie out of a glass. It was so delicious. And that comes out right around Thanksgiving every year. So that comes back as well. We have a really amazing Russian Imperial Stout that I believe Eric's now getting into some blending. So those are some new things that you'll see coming from us fairly soon. He's doing some blends of the different beers that he's been making.
Nice.
And just kind of seeing how it comes out. It's sort of a new trend that's been going on. So he's giving it a shot and just kind of seeing where it comes out.
Have y'all ever been in a spot where you brew something and you're like, we can't serve this?
Oh, boy. So we have one infamous beer. And it was a great idea at the time. It was, again, a flight idea where we would make 4 different beers that we could present, with a theme. This theme was the carnival. So all carnival foods.
Okay.
So Eric looked up and found out what the top 4 carnival foods are. Number 1, and I've never even actually had it at a carnival. I don't know that I've ever seen it at a carnival, but it is apparently the number 1. It is a habanero bacon bomb.
Oh,
so
whoa.
That was 1. And then corn dogs. And then kettle corn. And then deep fried Snickers.
Oh, my God.
Right? So those are the top 4. And so I think we threw cotton candy in there also, just because. So
I'm
Eric,
shocked that, elephant ear, funnel cake.
I know, right?
Where's
we
that
did
stuff?
funnel cake too. So there's 6. There was a bunch. We ended up with it was a big flight.
Yeah.
I think that was it though. That was the last one. So we made this flight, right? And it was impressive. You drank the funnel cake, tasted like funnel cake. Tasted like cotton candy, And then everybody got to the corn dog. They did such a good job of making a corn dog beer. They had mustard seed, they had tomato, for the ketchup, the mustard. Yeah. They used hot dog water, they'd boiled hot dogs and then poured the water in with the beer. I mean, it was amazing, level.
A little too authentic?
It was so authentic that it literally tasted like liquid cold corn dog when you drank it. And I mean, it tasted like a corn dog, except corn dogs are supposed to be hot and firm.
Yeah.
This was liquid and cold. So most people took like a sip, and that was the one beer that consistently came back on somebody's plate, and they were like, loved all of it. The corn dog was interesting. You know, that was the comments that we're getting. And that was our very first beer that we ever poured down the drain.
Yeah.
But it is infamous. That's one of our, like, we were thinking about making a poster of it at some point and putting it up in the tap room just to you know, immortalize the corn dog beer of, what was it, 2014.
You could do like an epitaph or something like that. Like have a tombstone
R.I.P.
up there. Retire that one. We're going to go in a little bit different direction in a second, but I do need to ask you something. I looked you all up on TripAdvisor.
Oh.
And as in life, 99% glowing reviews on TripAdvisor. People talking about the cozy space, talking about you and Eric, and how well you host there, the environment. There's one here I need to ask you about.
Sure.
It says this place has received a lot of positive reviews. However, my experience was not positive. Mm-hmm. My order was overbreaded, overcooked, and oversalty. Mm-hmm. I ordered the fried seafood platter. Everything was breaded with this heavy batter that made the seafood taste the same. And it kind of goes on like that. So what's the deal with your seafood platter?
Well, you know, we responded to that one and apologized for their poor experience and then explained to them, we don't actually have food. We have some popcorn, and that's it. I don't bread anything. I am not a cook. There is nothing that comes out of our space except beer. And we responded to that person and said, I think you've got the wrong place. But they never, ever logged back in to find that out.
It's actually a decent review for the right restaurant. I think it's just misplaced. I think somebody was just navigated to the wrong corner of the internet. Yeah. Funny though. Let's finish up with a little bit of a lightning round.
Okay.
What's something you'd do differently if you had it all to do it in business?
In our business, I think it would be to have more confidence in ourselves and to have started bigger.
Okay.
You know, we started in that little space thinking, well, we just want to test the waters and see. But I think we'd probably be a little further ahead with things if we had aimed a little higher when we first opened. But, you know, hindsight's 2020. We couldn't have known at the time. And we were really concerned because there was no brewery here when we opened. We were the very first. And so we didn't know what kind of response we were going to get. Our opening day, we had somebody doing the little ticker tape thing. And it turned out we had 670 people came through that day. Gosh. And we went, okay, I guess this is going to be
something
okay.
Here. Yeah.
But that was literally that. And then that night we were like, we need a bigger place. Like we had that night, opening night, we had that conversation. We need a bigger place. And so, you know, we kind of look at each other and go, but can't go back and change anything. Yeah. And really, some of the biggest compliments we've had were how much people appreciate that we do incremental growth the way we have. Mm-hmm. We haven't done massive big steps on things, and it's frustrated some people. They've wanted to see us go into, you know, national distribution, and we're like, that has never been our goal. We would be happy and content to be a regional brewery, even just the city's brewery. That's where we find contentment, is serving our neighbors and our friends.
Yeah. Yep. And it's one thing to know, like, I think a lot of times in business, there's a focus on growth just for the sake of growth, without necessarily paying attention to, you know, the people you have or what you've created in terms of a culture in your tap room and things like that. So I think it's wise to do those things incrementally and just do what feels natural to do next, and not because you think you're supposed to. You know?
Yeah, and I think that's where some businesses get hung up a little bit, that they think that they're supposed to be at a certain level. And some of it is just put your head down, trudge through it, get there, and then kind of be content in that spot for a minute.
What would someone be surprised to learn about you, other than y'all have a small business and you're a firefighter?
I have lived in Costa Rica and Norway.
Oh, tell me about that.
I went and did a semester abroad in Costa Rica that got extended because it was amazing. If you haven't been to Costa Rica, it is paradise. And so I was fortunate enough to find a program where I actually got to live with people Well, I was there. So I lived with a family in San Jose for a very short amount of time. And then I spent the rest of my time in Montezuma, well, right outside Montezuma, which is on the Pacific coast there. And I worked in a national park for a period of time and stayed with an amazing family and just loved them like they were my own, and they loved me. It was fantastic. And then I went and worked a summer in Norway for an exchange student program through a friend of mine. I was in Up With People, which is also a fun fact. So I traveled for a year with that organization, and I had many friends from all over different countries. So one summer I was like, I'm on break from college. I don't really have any plans right now. And somebody was like, hey, you can come work in Oslo. And I said, sign me up.
Yeah.
So I went and worked in Oslo for the summer and just had some really amazing opportunities.
Very cool. What's next for Johnson City Brewing?
Blended beer.
There you go.
Yeah, I think that's next, and hopefully someday a bigger space.
Yeah, one thing at a time.
Yeah.
When the time is right.
That's right.
Kat, thanks so much for coming in today.
Thank you. This was great. I really appreciate it.
Thanks. Okay, that's our show for today. Remember to follow us on Instagram at Johnson_city_living. And if you have an idea for a future episode of the podcast, shoot me an email at news@johnsоncityliving.com. Thanks for listening, and I'll see you around town.